Good morning. We are currently on our way to Portland Spirit River Cruise for my sister-in-law's 70th birthday celebration. And we are in the city of Milwaukee right now, heading down, what is this, I-99?
99, yeah.
Heading down 99 in Milwaukee, Oregon. And this cruise is going to be taking us through the Willamette River and possibly to Multnomah Falls. We're not quite sure, but we will take you along with us on the cruise.
Hello friends, we're downtown Portland today. It's about 75 degrees out and overcast. We're about ready to get on the Willamette Star. It's a cruise ship that does a lunch tour, and we're going to do that today and check out the Willamette River and all the sights down here by Portland. So come along with us. Looks like a submarine right there. I wonder if we can tour that. I'll have to check into that. But there's a submarine, and right up here, that ship out underneath the bridge there is the other boat that they use to do these tours. The food is really good. My sister got salmon. My other sister got like a chicken parmesan. And we got pasta. Very good.
First got here, they found the island was just heaped with elk bone and antler, hence the name Elk Rock. Lewis and Clark personally didn't get this far south, as far as their encampment, but 7 of the party, the core discovery, did. They stood right there and they watched the Multnomah stampede those herds of elk off the cliff. They were shocked at the fact that the Aboriginals would only take the tongues and the hump meat, leave the rest to the scavengers, which the soldiers happily scavenged. They were very well received at their encampment, which is now the Port of Portland area. carrying hides and hunches. And that is the city of Milwaukee, Oregon, founded by a fellow named Lot Whitcomb. Part of it's in Clackamas County, and a little portion of it extends into Multnomah County. It was founded in 1848 on the banks of the Willamette River. The city is known as the Dogwood City of the West. It was actually incorporated in 1903, and it is now a suburb of Portland. The very first steam vessel built on the Pacific coast was built right back there in Milwaukee Basin. Her name was Lot Whitcomb. She was a sidewheel steamer about 180 feet long, named for the founder of the city of Milwaukee, Oregon. And she lasted about 30 years. That was all in 1849. Looking off the port bow, that's Valentine Pumping Station. It was brought online in 1883. The Palatine Hill Pump Station provided 6 million gallons daily of water to a rapidly urbanized Portland, making it even greater rapid growth possible. Today, that Mediterranean-style pile on top of the pump station is an 8-bedroom, 8.5 bath that is over 5,000 square feet, remodeled in 1995. Palatine means palace in French and Latin, by the way. Waverly Golf Course and Country Club, coming up on the starboard side, was chartered in April 1896, making Waverly one of the earliest private clubs in the nation and the second private golf course established west of the Mississippi River. Fields, it was orchards, apple, pear, cherry. The Ming cherry was developed here, named for the Chinese foreman that oversaw the orchards for the owners. His name was Ah Bing, and the owners were the founders of the city of Milwaukee, Oregon. The vessel you're aboard is a Kilo class cruise vessel, which means all decks, no cabins. She's one of 6 sisters, all named Camelot, built on the eastern shore of Baltimore about 25 years ago. "150 feet long, 333 long tons, 40 foot in the beam, draws 7 feet of water, 41 feet tall from the waterline to the mast truck. And she'll do about 16 knots. The vessel operated out of Groton, Connecticut for a couple of years after she was launched. Then went idle, and a company in Hawaii purchased her. She was made ready for sea, cruised down the length of the Atlantic seaboard through the Gulf of Mexico, Panama Canal. 10 days later, she's in Hawaii, where she operated for over 12 years. Again becoming available, she cruised back across the Pacific. This company first operated her under the name of Spirit of Portland, but there was a litigious problem with that name, so Portland Spirit. While in Hawaii, her name was Star Dancer, and we call this deck the Starlight Deck, as they did over there, as a remembrance. And just north of that, some floating homes. At one time, if you owned a floating house like this, you didn't have to pay any property tax because you were, well, floating. Coming up on the new Selwood Bridge, a steel deck arch bridge, which replaced the old bridge, which replaced a ferry crossing, actually. Was completed in early 2016. Bridges in the United States are rated at 100, which is absolutely the best you can get, to 1, which is cross at your own risk. The old Selwa Bridge was rated at 2. That's right, 2.
Out here to warm up. Or he said, I'm going back home to warm up.
Yeah, if you look port and starboard as we pass below the bridge, you will see where the old Tacoma Street ferry used to run into the river. On the east bank, they had to block it off because they found about a dozen stolen vehicles running into the river at that point. Before that, you launch boats for free right there. By about 18 feet. Average depth of the river is about 40 feet. Fishermen love it at this point because the shallow areas, the basalt shelf has a tendency to funnel the fish, and they congregate here as well as the fishermen. Off the port bow, another row of floating homes. You can tell the older rafts by the fact that they're floating by means of log suspension. Otherwise, they have usually a concrete buoyage system. Looking up on the bank there, just off the port bow, this is the site of the original river rats, as they used to call themselves. It's called Miles Place. Some people say it was named after the founder of the little neighborhood. Other people say because it was a couple of miles from downtown Portland. But what happened after the flood of 1894 left a lot of these rafts high and dry on the bank. Instead of dragging them back into the river, they just bought the property they were sitting on and started a little community. It was a pretty rough and ready little neighborhood. There was a lot of rivermen, lumbermen, sailors. They said just in these couple of blocks worth, they had at least a half a dozen saloons and 3 floating brothels. And this row also marks the beginning of the Holgate Slough, which makes Ross Island an island. Actually a group of 4 islands with a lagoon in the center. East Island, for obvious reasons. Hard Rack Island, because it was difficult to farm. Later called Hard Tack Island, because they stored chips biscuits there. Ross Island proper, named for the Ross family, who homesteaded the property back in the 1840s. The Army Corps of Engineers built a berm between Hard Rack Island and Ross Island about 50 years ago. And closed the lagoon so they could mine glacial gravel. And this is Ross Island on the starboard bow. Ross Island is a little bit of wilderness, about 10 miles southeast of downtown. On the island, you're going to find tourists. Whitetail, deer, bobcat, trio, this is the wilderness. Beaver, otter, possum, raccoon. Got a million squirrels, feral dogs, cats, and rats, and occasional Sasquatch. Also a bird sanctuary with 75 different species of birds making out of their homes. Some are indigenous, some are migratory. Made a pair of bald eagles has made the island their home for well over 12 years now, and in that time they've raised 10 eaglets successfully.
Cool.
Oregon enjoys the reputation of having the most bald eagles of any state in the lower 48. These are all naturally occurring birds and not transplanted Alaskan species like many in the lower 48 are. Bald eagles mate for life. They live in the wild about 40 years. The male builds the nest for the female. And here comes the Ross Island Bridge. Look up underneath catwalks and past the bridge, you'll see two 24-inch water mains that bring fresh water from Bull Run Reservoir to the West Hills of downtown. The Bull Run watershed is the most pure in the United States. You don't need to treat the water. Ross Island Bridge is another one of the non-opening bridges that does double duty, not only supporting the vehicular traffic, but also running gas lines, water mains, electrical and telephone cables across the river. Coming up on the Tillicum Crossing, Bridge of the People. This is by TriMet, the Portland Metropolitan Area's Regional Transit Authority. Started construction July 1st, 2011, and was complete in September 2015. The bridge carries light rail trains, 3 different bus lines, trolley cars, pedestrians, and cyclists. Total length is 1/3 of a mile. And the height of the towers from pier cap to top, 180 feet. Prominently displayed before us is the USS Blueback SS 581. She's part of the Barble class of conventional submarines that were built for the United States Navy back in the 1950s. She's named for the blueback salmon and taken from plans that were surrendered at the end of the Second World War by the German Navy, who was far in advance of anybody else in the world as far as submarines are concerned. The USS Blueback earned 2 battle stars for Vietnam War service. And if you ever saw the movie The Hunt for Red October, you saw Blueback in action. She portrayed the USS Dallas in that film. Blueback was decommissioned on October 1st, 1990. And in February 1994, the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry towed her to Portland, where she is now an inactive part of the museum and a memorial. OMSI currently offers guided tours of the submarine several times a day. Coming up on Burnside Bridge, which is not named for the Civil War general, but a local entrepreneur who gave his name to the street that the bridge abuts. More interestingly, though, a fella named Joseph B. Strauss designed and built the bridge. He was from Austria. Added a little of the flavor of his homeland to the structure. And when he got this bridge completed, he went down to California and built another bridge you may have heard of called the Golden Gate. The Burnside Bridge was completed in the 1920s, and it's one of the heaviest bridges of its type because it is paved. As your highly skilled ops crew brings the mighty Portland spirit about, you can see the seawall, which was constructed right after the Great Flood of 1893-94 inundated downtown. And they said, well, that'll be the last time that's going to happen. And so they built the seawall. It did its job in 1996 when the river came within 1 measured inch of going over the top. It did block a lot of the Shanghai tunnels, though. It was a virtual underground street system, was dug by the Chinese, bricked, gaslighted, named. This is because the freight wagons unloading the ships would sink up to their boards in the muddy, unpaved streets because it rained so much. But you can still go on a Shanghai tunnel tour if you're so inclined.
Hello guys, we finished our cruise. It was great weather, it was great food, the sights were good. It was just all around a perfect cruise. So we're gonna finish the day with salt and straw ice cream on a sweet note. And we wanna thank you for coming along, and we'll see you next Sunday.